You're listening to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review WWE SmackDown and AEW Rampage from March 4th, 2022. Overall, between the two shows, we actually got really good. We got some really good in-ring wrestling tonight. Of course, we had Sami Zayn versus Ricochet for the Intercontinental Championship. We also had that fantastic triple threat TNT Championship match between Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Andrade El Idolo. Of course, we got AEW Revolution coming up this Sunday. We're 48 hours away from AEW Revolution, or I should say 24 hours away, because I am filming this on a Friday right after SmackDown and Rampage, and I'm going to be uploading this on a Saturday. But we are 24 hours away, less than 24 hours away, I should say, for AEW Revolution. It's going to be by far one of the best pay-per-views, if not the best pay-per-view so far of 2022. Overall, I thought SmackDown in the beginning was a pretty good show, but then it kind of fell off a cliff after that. Rampage was a really good go-home show for Revolution. Of course, Rampage this week was a live show. We had Keithley in action. CM Punk, we had that backstage segment with CM Punk right after he got attacked by MJF, which he cut a fantastic promo. Of course, we got Christian Cage versus Ethan Page in a qualifying match for the Face of the Revolution ladder match. So we got a lot of things to talk about right here on the Broken Havoc podcast. But before I get on with the SmackDown and Rampage reviews, make sure to like and subscribe to the Broken Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would always say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And another thing that I want to mention as well, make sure to check out my AEW Revolutions video. I actually uploaded this yesterday, so check it out. I make my predictions on the entire match card. I talk about Adam Cole versus Hangman Page, Eddie Kingston versus Chris Jericho, the dog collar match with MJF and CM Punk, all that type of stuff. It's right now up on the channel. The link will be in the description below, so check it out. My AEW Revolution 2021 pay-per-view, or 2022, I should say, 2022 pay-per-view predictions. So we're going to get on with the SmackDown review, and then we're going to go on to Rampage. SmackDown started off with multiple video packages with a bunch of in-ring talent and managers. Of course, we had Paul Heyman, Ronda Rousey, Sonya Deville, the Viking Raiders, the Usos, Ricochet, and of course, the Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn, who he dropped the title to Ricochet in the opening match. One thing I will say, I was not really that big of a fan of the opening video packages. I thought it was kind of lame, in my opinion. Some of the promos that were cut were really good. For example, of course, Paul Heyman. Of course, Paul Heyman is being Paul Heyman the entire time. But let's be straight up. In my opinion, I honestly believe that, yes, they're trying to do something different, but to be quite honest with you, I just feel like, some of these promos were just not that good. For example, Ronda Rousey, again, she feels like she does not want to be there whatsoever. She is the babyface in this match with Charlotte Flair that she's going to have at WrestleMania. And, she does not even come off as a babyface. She legit comes off as a real-life heel because of the fact that, her promos are just not that good. Not only that, she literally sounds so casual. She's like, yeah, I'm going to face Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Like, that's how she sounds. I don't want to be that disrespectful towards Ronda Rousey, but I think Ronda Rousey can be better than that. I just think, the promos that she cut is just kind of lame, in my opinion. But, of course, we had the Viking Raiders, the Usos, Ricochet, and Sami Zayn cut promos backstage. I honestly did not care. But the opening match for Friday Night SmackDown this week was the Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn and Ricochet. Overall thoughts, this was a really good opener. Usually for when it comes to television shows for WWE usually never starts off hot with a really good match with Sami Zayn versus Ricochet. I guess they're going the AEW route with starting off the show hot. Nah, I'm just kidding. But AEW, whenever you watch an AEW show, for the majority of the time, they would always start really hot with a really good match. But Sami Zayn versus Ricochet is for the Intercontinental Championship. I did like the match. I thought the match was fantastic, especially in the beginning. Now, granted, a part of me was scared that Ricochet was actually going to beat Sami Zayn with that first roll-up. If that was the case, I would have been so angry. But overall, this was a really good match. Ricochet was fantastic in this match. Sami Zayn as well. But my only gripe was the finish. And I'll talk about that later on as I go through on the match. But the finish was just really dumb in my opinion. I honestly felt like, we could have had a clean finish with Ricochet winning the title. Now, granted, Ricochet did win the title, but he was due to help with Johnny Knoxville, technically. But I'll talk about that later on as I go through the match. But instantly, we get a roll-up by Ricochet. We get a near fall. We get a Hurricane Rana by Ricochet. We get a drop kick by Ricochet. Ricochet then lands on the apron. We get a clothesline by Sammy. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a side headlock by Sami Zayn. Then Ricochet fights back. Ricochet then goes for an enziguri. Then after that, we get a cover by Ricochet and a near fall. We get a thrust kick by Ricochet. Both at this point are on the apron after that. Zayn then blocks a super kick. Zayn then hits a German suplex on Ricochet on the apron. Once we're back from commercial break, Zayn is in control. Zayn is on the top. Ricochet then goes for a Hurricane Rana. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Ricochet then gets caught by Sammy and hits a power bomb. Then we get a cover by Zayn and a near fall. We get repeated stomps by Sami Zayn. Ricochet then tries to fight back. Sammy then tries to go for an exploder suplex, but then Ricochet rolls up. We get a near fall. Ricochet then goes for a standing moonsault. Then we get a cover and a near fall. We get a super kick by Ricochet. Then we get a flying cartwheel moonsault, whatever the hell that was, by Ricochet, as Pat McAfee would state, on the outside. Ricochet then goes to the top, but Zayn comes in and pushes Ricochet out. Then Johnny Knoxville comes out, and Ricochet goes for a Hurricane Rana. We got a roll-up by Ricochet. 1, 2, 3, and Ricochet gets the pinfall and is the new Intercontinental Champion. So this is what I want to talk about. I really enjoyed the match for what it was. It was a fantastic opener. Very rarely on television for WWE. WWE would always start off with a really hot match. But they would always start it off, with their pay-per-views with a really hot match or main event match, of course, at the Royal Rumble. They started off with Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. But, the finish. I totally understand, them wanting to build Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. And don't get me wrong, I'm really happy that match at WrestleMania is not going to be for the Intercontinental Championship because of the fact that if that was the case, it would have been big fuck you to the Intercontinental title because that title was held by guys like Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, Edge, all those legends right there, right? And then you all of a sudden just have a celebrity challenge for the title. I think it's really stupid. But thankfully they did not go that route because they knew and they were like, we should not do this. That's disrespect to the Intercontinental title. But again, I felt like, if you wanted to make this match much better, again, I totally understand, they wanted to build up Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. But at the same time, this was a damn good match. And, really having Johnny Knoxville come out, to me, kind of killed the momentum of the match, in my opinion. The finish could have been much, much better with Ricochet beating Sami Zayn clean. But nonetheless, Ricochet is the new Intercontinental Champion, and really it opens up a whole new possibilities for the Intercontinental title. I tweeted out on Twitter right after this happened that the Intercontinental title should be defended at WrestleMania. I think it makes perfect sense that the title needs to be defended at WrestleMania, and I stated on my Raw review, out of the mid-card championships on the WWE main roster right now, and I'm talking about only within the WWE because we all know within the world of professional wrestling, the TNT Championship is by far, and yes, it is a mid-card title, it is by far the most important mid-card championship. It's more important right now than the U.S. title and more important than the Intercontinental title. But within the WWE, within the main roster, I'm excluding NXT because I do not watch NXT. I'm talking about the main roster. When it comes to the mid-card championships, right now, the U.S. title is more important. We just saw a really good match between Finn Balor and Damian Priest this past Monday on Raw. I think, Damian Priest's heel turn was kind of weird, but we'll have to wait and see where that goes. But I love the fact that Finn Balor is the new U.S. champion. And I think right now the U.S. title is really important right now in the WWE. It's more important, at least, than the Intercontinental title. But I was advocating actually on Twitter that, the IC championship should be defended in a ladder match at WrestleMania. If you want to make WrestleMania stupendous, put a freaking ladder match for the IC title at WrestleMania. First off, we should be getting an annual ladder match at WrestleMania. I do not know why that's not the case. I mean, I remember, of course, they used to have the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania. Now it became its own pay-per-view. But I can remember for WrestleMania 31 and WrestleMania 32, they did have a ladder match for the Intercontinental title. And, it would be best if they did have a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship this year and Ricochet defending it. In my opinion, I think it would be great. I think they should do that. But do I see them doing that? No, because WWE is absolutely lazy. But, I mean, if you really want to make WrestleMania that special, do a ladder match for the Intercontinental title. All right. After this, we got Austin Theory. Austin Theory calls out Pat McAfee. Yes, Austin Theory is on SmackDown. Wasn't he a Raw guy? It's a pure example as to why WWE should end the brand split. They just do not care at all. I understand that it's WrestleMania season, so basically anything can happen. But yeah. So Austin Theory comes out, and of course, Austin Theory in storyline is the protege, quote unquote, of Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon actually did appear on the Pat McAfee show. They stated it was like for the first time in 15 years, Vince McMahon appeared in a public interview, which is a complete lie. The last time Vince McMahon appeared was on the Stone Cold podcast back in 2014. That was the last time. That was like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. It was not 15 years ago. It was definitely 5 years ago, not 15 years. But of course, if you guys did not watch the Pat McAfee show with Vince McMahon, I actually really urge you to watch the interview. I enjoy the interview for myself. I really enjoy the interview. Vince McMahon, he's a strange individual, and a lot of the things he said, you kind of question. I mean, I don't call them wrestlers. I call them superstars because this and that. And he did say a couple of questionable things in the interview. But at the same time, the reason why I really wasn't as mad as a lot of other people was because of the fact that I expected this from Vince McMahon. I really expected it from Vince McMahon. So I really wasn't that all surprised about what Vince McMahon stated at all. I mean, he doesn't even give a shit about AEW. Let's be straight up. I mean, AEW is 100% competition to the WWE, but let's be straight up. Vince McMahon doesn't give no two shits about AEW. That's just me. But if you guys haven't watched the Pat McAfee show with Vince McMahon, I urge you to check it out. It's actually really entertaining. And during that interview, Vince McMahon actually offered Pat McAfee a WrestleMania match. And we found out his opponent, and it's going to be Austin Theory. Now, I will say this. When Austin Theory came out and called out Pat McAfee, what he did, basically what happens, he talks about Vince McMahon. He basically puts over and kisses Mr. McMahon's ass, as of course he is. That's his character. He calls out Pat McAfee and he asks him why Vince McMahon offered him to be at his show. He set him up. Says he's always 4 or 5 steps ahead. He does everything for a reason, and he knows that he is a loud mouth. But hey, that is entertainment, right? What is he going to do when his mouth is wired shut, and then, at dinner, he's going to have to sip with a straw? Then Austin gets closer to Pat McAfee, and what did he do? What does he do? He smacks the headset off of Pat McAfee, right? And Pat McAfee just looks at him with this weird smile on his face. And Austin Theory runs off like a jackass. If Austin Theory smacked the shit out of me, I'd instantly smack him back. I wouldn't care at all. But Pat McAfee, I have stated on previous SmackDown reviews that probably besides Roman Reigns, one of the best things about SmackDown is Pat McAfee. And I stand by that because Pat McAfee, in my opinion, gives, in a way, SmackDown an identity. And, to me, it makes SmackDown a little bit unique because if you compare the SmackDown commentary team to the Raw commentary team is absolutely atrocious. Byron Saxton is by far, and this is not a knock on Byron Saxton personally, but Byron Saxton is by far the worst commentator that I've ever heard. It is so organic, formulaic, it's garbage. It's robotic completely, as MJF would say, robotic garbage. But Jimmy Smith is all right. Corey Graves is literally, the guy that is holding on to that commentary team. He's the knowledgeable guy. But let's be straight up. The SmackDown commentary team is flat out awesome. And Pat McAfee, again, always gives SmackDown a sense of identity because of his commentary alone. And, I love the fact that WWE does not change Pat McAfee at all. But, Pat McAfee's reaction was amazing. It was hilarious and it was awesome at the same time. Literally, when Austin Theory leaves, Pat McAfee actually stands up. He stands up on top of the announce table And then, he calls Austin Theory a little bitch boy and all that. He doesn't have his headset on. He does not have his headset on. He calls him a little bitch boy. And then when he literally puts the headset back on, he's like, what the fuck just happened? He literally cursed on broadcast television. It was so funny. Now, granted, they censored it, but it was hilarious to see that. Pat McAfee, again, is amazing at what he does. I mean, we all expected it was going to be Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee. Thank God that is not going to be the case. I can't even imagine a 76-year-old Vince McMahon go in the freaking ring. I think it'd be really stupid. But thankfully, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee at WrestleMania. It's going to be an entertaining match. I'm not like extremely hyped about it, but I'm not gonna lie, man. This whole Pat McAfee and Austin Theory thing, I'm definitely interested to see where this goes in the near future. I'm curious to see what happens on Raw if Pat McAfee instantly shows up out of nowhere, but we'll have to wait and see. Pat McAfee, again, is by far one of the best things about WWE television, bar none. But yeah, after that, we got one match that I just absolutely do not care about whatsoever, and that was Naomi versus Carmela. Of course, Carmela and Zelina Vega, or Queen Zelina, as WWE would stated. Of course, Queen Zelina did win the Queen's Crown tournament, basically the female version of the King of the Ring. And that tournament, and you guys know, I've stated it before, that tournament was not as important as people made it out to be. The reason why I say that is because almost every match was not important whatsoever, and almost every match was like less than 2 minutes. But we got Naomi versus Carmela, and of course Carmela and Zelina Vega are the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. A pair of titles that mean absolutely nothing because there are no real women's tag teams on the roster. But this match was pretty short. Carmela retreats to put her mask on. Naomi then goes for a kick. She goes to the top. Zelina then causes a distraction on the outside. We get a side headlock by Carmela. Naomi picks up Carmela and drops her. Naomi then hits an enziguri after that. Then we get a cover engineer fall. Then Carmela goes after Naomi. Banks then attacks Zelina Vega. Of course, Sasha Banks is on the outside. Then she hits the Meteor on Queen Zelina on the steel steps. Then Naomi in the ring takes out Carmela. She hits the split-legged moonsault. We get a cover, and Naomi goes over and gets the pin. Then, great. I mean, I'm not really interested in the tag team match that's going to happen at WrestleMania. Really, out of all the things you could have put Sasha Banks in, you put her in a freaking match for the women's tag titles. Sasha Banks should literally be at the top of the women's division, and right now she isn't. I mean, of course, she's had multiple women's titles, but at the same time, I mean, she should be in a high-profile match at WrestleMania, and instead she's in a freaking tag team match for the women's tag titles. A pair of titles that mean absolutely nothing, as I have stated earlier. All right. After that, we got Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, the worst heels in the business, basically backstage and playing poker. Corbin says he's on the hottest winning streak right now. No, the hottest winning streak right now is Hook in AEW, okay? Slow your roll, Happy Corbin. I'm just kidding. But Moss has a shitty joke, I will not repeat right here on this podcast because his jokes are by far the worst jokes in the history of the world. Okay. After that, we got Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. Of course, two former 3MB members. Of course, that third 3MB member is the one-man band, Heath Slater, who is in Impact Wrestling right now. But, again, this was a really short match. Drew McIntyre basically, Jinder did get some offense, but, again, who cares about this match? I'm sorry, nobody cares about Jinder Mahal. That's just my opinion. But Drew McIntyre, of course, he goes over. He grabs the boot of Jinder. We get a shoulder tackle by McIntyre. We get a couple of chops by Drew. We get a boot by Jinder. We get a cover and a near fall. Jinder Mahal then is in control. Then he goes, he throws Jinder across the ring with a belly-to-belly. Then he goes for a second throw. Then after that, McIntyre hits the neck breaker. Then Shanky, who is on the outside, tries to interfere, but then takes Drew but Drew McIntyre takes him out. My apologies. Jinder gets hit then with the Glasgow Kiss. Then gets hit with the Claymore kick. We get a cover, and Drew McIntyre wins. Then Caleb Braxton interviews Drew McIntyre, says he doesn't give a damn about what Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin think. They have zero respect in the locker room and say at WrestleMania he's going to take Baron Corbin or Happy Corbin out. And he actually asks the crowd in Miami to raise their hands to see if they don't like Moss and Happy Corbin, and they all did raise their hands. Great. Moss backstage is telling a joke, but Baron Corbin does not laugh. He's actually scared because he's going to get his ass beat at WrestleMania. Then we get a video package of last week's contract signing between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, which I thought was a fantastic segment. I really enjoyed what I saw in the final segment on SmackDown, the contract signing, of course, between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. WWE is literally making this, they're marketing this match as the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. I'm sorry. This match is predictable. I'm still excited for the match. I think the match is going to be great, but we've seen Reigns versus Lesnar so many times. But is it really the biggest WrestleMania match of all time? No. There were far bigger WrestleMania main events than this match. Of course, we got Rock versus Hogan, Rock versus Austin, Rock versus Cena, freaking who else? Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels. We got so many different WrestleMania matches. Not Brock Lesnar. Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan. Like, you name it. Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels in the ladder match at WrestleMania 10. I mean, again, a lot of those matches are bigger than this match because we all know what the hell's going to happen at WrestleMania with Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Granted, I'm excited for the match. The match is going to be great, but the way that they're marketing as the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, it's absolutely ridiculous because it's by far not the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. I could even make the assumption that the match at WrestleMania 31 was actually more important. And not only that, that was by far one of their best matches. I definitely enjoyed their match at WrestleMania 31. I think they're going to tear their house down at WrestleMania as well. But we all know what the hell is going to happen. Roman Reigns is going to walk out with both the WWE and Universal Championships. Of course, we do have the Madison Square Garden house show happening actually today, and who knows what the hell is going to happen there, but I'll talk about that later on. Of course, we got Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura come out, but the Usos instantly attack them when they make their entrance, so I'm sorry, Pat McAfee, that wasn't sorry, you couldn't dance for long. But after that, Roman Reigns out of nowhere comes out. After that, his music plays, and of course, him, Paul Heyman, the Usos, the entire bloodline is out. And Roman Reigns cuts a fantastic promo, as Roman Reigns obviously always does, because Roman Reigns is by far the best wrestler in the world today. If you think otherwise, then I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with you. But Roman Reigns is by far, he's getting that mainstream appeal. He's literally the top guy in the business right now. Granted, there are other best wrestlers out there, of course, in AEW right now, but at this point, nobody can touch, and nobody right now is at the level of a Roman Reigns. That is just my opinion. Roman Reigns tells the state of Miami to acknowledge him, of course. I acknowledge you, Roman Reigns, and I'm all the way from Jersey. I acknowledge you. Tomorrow night, himself and Brock Lesnar will defend their titles at Madison Square Garden. Of course, one of the main reasons as to why WWE is mentioning the Madison Square Garden house show is because of the fact that the Madison Square Garden house show is not doing well in ticket sales. That is the sole reason as to why they're mentioning it on television on a constant basis every week on both Raw and SmackDown, because of the fact that they need to sell more tickets. Not only that, I talked about this on my Raw reviews as well. It's a pure example of AEW actually overtaking the WWE in the New York market. I definitely do see that being the case. Of course, AEW sold out. I believe they did sell out. I think they had a couple of tickets up, but they most likely sold out Arthur Ashe Stadium. And then, of course, they outsold the WWE at the UBS Arena in Long Island, sold more tickets quicker than the WWE at the UBS Arena in Long Island. So definitely 100%. One of the reasons why the tickets are suffering is because of the fact that AEW has overtaken them in the New York market. That's what I believe. That's what I genuinely believe. And that's, the proof is out there. We'll go look it up online. But, after that, it talks about their title defenses at Madison Square Garden. It says, we all know what he is going to do. Roman Reigns states he's going to smash them and then send them back to the line as he always does. That being Roman Reigns talking about his title defense against whoever it may be tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. Then Brock's defense, he says, is interesting. Not all of us want to see Brock Lesnar with the championship. That's not how he feels. He wants to hand deliver that WWE title to his tribal chief at WrestleMania. Then, of course, he talks to his wise man, that being Paul Heyman, and then he asks him that line. It's not a prediction. It is a spoiler. He asks Heyman if they shall give a spoiler. Then Roman calls himself the Babe Ruth. He delivers every single time and talks about last year's WrestleMania. He says he's going to call his shot again this year. At WrestleMania, he's going to smash Brock Lesnar, pin Lesnar, stand over Brock Lesnar, and $5 million of fireworks is going off, and he's going to hold both the WWE and the Universal Championships high above his head. Then Brock would have no choice but to acknowledge him, and then he literally just goes off and yells. He's going to acknowledge me. He's going to acknowledge me. I'm not going to yell right here on this review, but he yells. Then after that, he says at WrestleMania, quietly, Brock Lesnar will acknowledge him. Mic drop. That was Roman Reigns' out of nowhere segment. What are my thoughts on this segment? Roman Reigns never disappoints. He's by far the best thing on SmackDown. In my opinion, SmackDown has gotten worse, and really, Roman Reigns has been holding SmackDown on the back, on his back for like the past year and a half. But overall, what are my thoughts on this segment? Fantastic segment, fantastic promo by Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has really come a long way when it comes to his promos. I can remember back in 2015, 2016, Roman Reigns, when he was a babyface, he constantly got booed out of the building, and his promos were not good whatsoever. We can all remember that night on SmackDown where he had that segment with Seth Rollins, and he called him a sniveling little suck-up sellout full of suffering succotash. That's what literally Roman Reigns stated back in 2015. Yeah, granted, that was not his fault. That was definitely Vince McMahon telling him to say that, but still. Many of those promos that Roman Reigns cut as a babyface were not good, and right now Roman Reigns has come a long way, and you know what? You love to see it. All right, we got the Usos versus the Viking Raiders in a pretty good match. I enjoyed the match for what it was. Of course, the Usos got the win. Of course, this match is for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Overall, this was not a bad match whatsoever. The Usos get taken out on the outside. Ivar takes him out on the outside. He goes to the top. Ivar goes for a splash. We get a cover and a near fall. They try to go for the Viking experience, but then Jay makes the save. Jay then tags in. We get a double team attempt by the Usos, but then Jimmy tags in. He sends Eric headfirst onto the ring apron. Then Jay tags in. Jimmy then sends Eric to the outside. We get a right hand on the outside by Jay. Eric then fights back, but he sends Eric to the ring post, or I should say Eric gets sent to the ring post. Then at this point, Jimmy is the legal man, and then the Usos send Eric over the timekeeper's area. Once we're back from commercial break, then Jay tags in. Ivar then catches Jey Uso. We get a double team attempt by the Viking Raiders. Then we get a cover engineer fall. Eric then tries to go for the backdrop, but then Jay escapes. Then Jimmy tags in. He hits a super kick. He goes to the top. Eric then gets the knees up when Jimmy hits the Uso splash. Then the Viking Raiders hit the Viking experience. We get a cover engineer fall when Jey Uso makes the save. Then Eric tags in. Jimmy then catches Ivar and takes him to the outside. We get a kick by Eric. Then Jimmy hits a super kick after that. We get a roll up by Jay, and then we get a roll up by Eric. Both are near falls. Then we get a super kick by Jimmy. Then the Usos hit the 1D, the one and done, a.k.a. the 3D. Then the Usos, after that, make the pinfall attempt. The Usos win the match, and they retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. It was obviously 100% expected. I do not see the Usos dropping those titles anytime soon whatsoever. As long as Roman is the champion, the Usos are going to be remaining the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. But this was a pretty good match. It started off really good. The Viking Raiders were really good. Ivar and Eric were fantastic. The Usos, as always, are by far one of the best tag teams in the world. One of the real tag teams. Of course, these two guys are actually real tag teams in the WWE Tag Team division. WWE does not really put a lot of focus in tag team wrestling. If you want to watch real tag team wrestling, go watch AEW. But I will say, these two are the absolute most real tag teams. These are like by far the only two actual tag teams that WWE has. So, overall, this was not a bad match. But I do expect to see multiple rematches for the next couple of weeks on SmackDown. All right, we got the New Day versus Rich Holland and Sheamus. Overall, this match did not even happen. It did start, but it just ended out of nowhere because WWE just doesn't know what the hell to do when it comes to these scenarios. Of course, the New Day come out with the ATV, and then Kofi is dancing with the beeps with doing the New Day theme. Rich Holland then hits him from behind with the chair. Then Sheamus then goes for a chop block, but goes after Big E. Then Rich Holland destroys the ATV, but Sheamus and Rich Holland ride away with the ATV after that. Once we're back from break, during the break, Sheamus and Rich Holland destroy the Sledgehammers. Then after that, we got our main event. Of course, we got Sonya Deville versus Ronda Rousey. Yes, Ronda Rousey is going to be wrestling for the first time, or actually, she did wrestle for the first time on SmackDown. Overall, this match did not last long whatsoever. Ronda Rousey, you guys know my thoughts on Ronda Rousey. Look, I'm glad Ronda Rousey is back, right? But the promos that she has cut for the past couple of weeks on SmackDown have been atrocious, in my opinion. And a lot of other people have been stating this on social media and on many different podcasts, and it's 100% true. Ronda Rousey, every time when she speaks on the microphone, she sounds like she does not want to be there. Ronda Rousey, to be quite honest with you, I mean, she is the babyface, and I've stated this like right at the beginning of this SmackDown review. She is the babyface in this match heading into WrestleMania with Charlotte, and she's going to be the main event of WrestleMania Night 1 on Saturday. But I mean, again, if she is the babyface and you're cutting a promo, you have to really bring that genuine emotion, and you really have to, bring your emotion out when it comes to cutting a babyface promo. And really, Ronda Rousey hasn't been doing that. Every time when she cuts a promo, she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna wrestle Charlotte at WrestleMania." Blah blah blah. Like she's talking like she's extreme. Like she's talking like a casual person would talk. And, if you're the babyface, I mean, you shouldn't do that. You need to sell the match. And I don't think this match between Charlotte and Ronda Rousey is selling me anything. I do not care about this match whatsoever. I do not care about this first main event. Really, the only matches that I am interested for WrestleMania are Edge versus AJ Styles and Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. And that's it. Everything else is just pure garbage. And maybe Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory. But we got Ronda Rousey's first match on SmackDown. She takes on Sonya Deville. Charlotte comes out, of course, because Charlotte does not want to leave the spotlight. She always wants to be in the spotlight. So Charlotte comes out. We got a clothesline by Ronda Rousey. Then Charlotte tries to interfere, but then Sonya's in control. We get a running knee by Sonya Deville after that. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a side headlock by Sonya on Ronda. We get a takedown by Sonya, but then Sonya continues to apply the clutch. Then Ronda regains control. She wraps the knee to the neck of Sonya onto the middle rope. We get a kick by Ronda. Ronda works on the arm of Sonya Deville. She plants her to the mat, then applies the arm bar, which makes Sonya Deville tap out, and Ronda Rousey beats Sonya Deville clean in the center of the ring. Then after that, she looks at Charlotte, who is on commentary. Charlotte comes in the ring, but then Ronda applies the ankle lock on Charlotte and actually makes her tap out, and the show ends. Overall, great. I wasn't as, hyped up for Ronda Rousey's first match on SmackDown as a lot of other people were. I just did not care whatsoever. Again, I'm not interested in Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey, to be quite honest with you. It's just one of those matches that I'm just like, whatever, to me. And it's a damn shame to see. I mean, to me, it's a damn shame, but WWE really hasn't given me anything interest, and I'm not really as invested in this feud, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, that was SmackDown. Overall, SmackDown was in the beginning of the show, it was actually pretty good. Now, I will say SmackDown has had some good in-ring wrestling. The match between Sami Zayn and Ricochet was fantastic, but my only gripe was the finish of the match. Again, I totally understand why they added Johnny Knoxville there. Of course, it's to build for Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania, but at the same time, it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, this match was going on so well, and you're really just going to take the thunder away from Sami Zayn and Ricochet by bringing in Johnny Knoxville to make a distraction for Ricochet to go over. I mean, it makes no sense. Now, granted, the right man won, and thankfully it's not going to be an Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania, but whatever. But overall, the beginning of the show was pretty good, and then, kind of fell off a cliff, and then the Roman Reigns segment happened. That was amazing, but then it went off a cliff again. And, yeah, SmackDown was overall kind of a, 50-50 show. I was not really as invested as much later on in the show. All right, we're going to be talking about AEW Rampage. AEW Rampage, of course, came to us from Orlando, Florida. Actually, Rampage was live this week. Not only that, Rampage and SmackDown, of course, were both live. Of course, SmackDown almost every week is a live show. They're rarely taped. But Rampage, for most weeks, it is a live show. But both WWE and AEW tonight were in the state of Florida, of course, SmackDown being in Miami and Rampage being in Orlando. Of course, Rampage comes to us from Orlando, March 4th, 2022. This was a really good episode of Rampage, in my opinion. I enjoyed Rampage for what it was. Of course, in 24 hours, in less than 24 hours, Rampage, or not Rampage, we got AEW Revolution coming to us live on pay-per-view. AEW Revolution is looking to be probably one of the best pay-per-views of the entire year, in my opinion. The card for Revolution is absolutely stacked. And one reminder, before I get on with this Rampage review, make sure to check out my AEW Revolution predictions video. It's actually uploaded right here on the channel. So the link is in the description below. So if you guys want to check out my predictions for the Revolution pay-per-view, check it out. I run down the entire card. I talk about Adam Cole versus Hangman Page for the AEW World title, CM Punk versus MJF in the dog collar match, and much more right here on my Revolution predictions video. Again, the link is in the description below. So if you guys haven't checked out my Revolution predictions video, check it out. So Rampage starts off with a triple threat match for the TNT Championship, with Sammy Guevara defending his title against Andrade El Idolo and Darby Allin. And it's safe to say, man, this match was fantastic. By far, so far, one of the best matches of the year. I mean, and I'm not joking at all. I'm telling the God honest truth. This match was amazing. This match was badass as hell. The spots in this match, were insane. Sammy Guevara is one of the best, man. He's one of the best in-ring performers of all time right now. Andrade, what the hell can I say about Andrade? Andrade is amazing at what he does. And Darby Allin is on his way to superstardom as well. I mean, this match for the TNT Championship, and this goes back to my discussion on why I believe the TNT Championship is more important than any mid-card championship in all of professional wrestling right now. AEW look, the TNT Championship, people like Cody Rhodes will always tell you, oh, the TNT Championship is not a mid-card championship. It's, we don't like the word mid-card. It's a mid-card championship. It always will be a mid-card championship. But AEW treats the TNT Championship on par with the AEW World title, and I like that. That was what the Intercontinental Championship used to be. It used to be on par with the WWE title, but the Intercontinental Championship right now is an absolute joke. The TNT Championship, all the matches that we constantly see with the TNT title on the line, is flat out off the charts. This match shows no different. Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Andrade El Idolo absolutely tore the house down in Orlando, Florida, and the crowd was just on their feet for this match. This match was amazing that we saw live in the opening match on TNT on Rampage. And I'm going to be going through the match, but let's be straight up. The TNT Championship right now is, out of every single mid-card championship right now in all of professional wrestling, it is by far the most important title in the sport today. But the match starts. Both Darby and Sammy target Andrade. Andrade retreats but goes to the outside. Sammy and Darby, after that, go to the outside. Then they get pulled by Andrade. Then everybody goes in the ring. Then we get a double team attempt by Sammy and Darby in the corner on Andrade. Then Darby out of nowhere goes for the code red. Sammy then goes for a roll up, but we get a near fall. We get a side headlock by Sammy Guevara. We get a drop kick and a chop by Sammy. He takes Darby to the top. Sammy also goes to the top. Then we get a high kick by Sammy. Sammy then tries to go for the superplex, but then Andrade comes in. He hits a powerbomb on both Sammy and Darby, so he catches them both and basically creates this whole Tower of Doom and hits a freaking powerbomb. We get a cover by Andrade and we get a near fall. Andrade then throws Darby to the top rope. He hits Darby with the belt. Once we go to commercial break, Andrade is in control. Then Andrade takes Sammy and hits the three amigos, and the final amigo, that being the suplex that Andrade El Idolo hits. He hits it in the corner of the ring on the turnbuckle. Then Darby Allin out of nowhere comes in. He takes Andrade to the corner, but then Andrade out of nowhere hits a backbreaker for his counter. Then Andrade goes to the top. He hits a moonsault, but misses and goes for the standing moonsault. Of course, that is that is one of Andrade's signature moves right there. That was fantastic. Of course, Charlotte has been incorporating that in her matches as well. But he goes for that standing moonsault. We get a cover on Sammy and a near fall. Then he takes out Darby. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Then all three wrestlers go back up. Everybody exchange shots. We get a bunch of slaps and right hands. Both Andrade and Darby slap each other. And when I'm talking about slapping each other, they legitimately slap the hell out of each other. Andrade then catches Darby with the coffin splash, but then Sammy out of nowhere hits a freaking super kick. Then Sammy gets taken to the outside. Andrade then gets the knees up, countering the coffin splash in the corner. We get a slam by Andrade on Darby Allin. Andrade goes to the top, but then Darby comes in. Then Darby takes off his belt and hits Andrade repeatedly in the back with his belt. So that was actually absolutely painful. Of course, this is a three-way match, so there are no disqualifications at all in this match. Then Andrade gets upside down in the corner of the ring, and then out of nowhere, Sammy Guevara hits the freaking coast to coast on the face of Andrade. That was possibly one of the best spots of this entire match. Then Darby Allin goes for the suicide dive on Andrade on the outside. Then Sammy's in the center of the ring. Darby goes back in. We get a roll up by Sammy and a near fall. We get a cover by Darby, but then Sammy Guevara escapes. We get a bunch of roll up attempts by both, but they're all near falls. Andrade comes in. We get a boot by Andrade on Darby. We got a roll up by Andrade and plants Sammy to the mat with the deadlift power bomb. Then we get a cover by Darby, but Darby comes in. We get a cover and then Darby interferes. We got a waist lock by Darby. We get a back elbow by Andrade. Then he runs into a boot by Darby. Darby then hits a stunner. Then Sammy Guevara hits the GTH on Andrade after that. Then Darby takes Sammy to the outside. Darby goes to the top and hits the coffin drop, but then Sammy comes back and hits a senton off the top for the pin. Sammy Guevara retains the TNT Championship in a fantastic opening match to kick off AEW Rampage. Of course, the go-home Rampage before the Revolution pay-per-view. Overall, this was an amazing match. I don't care what anybody says. Call me a mark, whatever. This match was by far amazing. This was by far one of the best matches so far of 2022, and this should be in contention as one of the best matches of the entire year thus far. But again, all three men tore the house down. Sammy Guevara, I mean, bro, the spots that Sammy Guevara has been doing, I mean, he hit a freaking coast to coast on Andrade, and then he hit a freaking, somersault. He hit a senton off the top for the finish. That was insane, man. This match, the crowd is on their feet. Fantastic match. Sammy Guevara retains the TNT Championship. All right. Then we get a segment with Death Triangle. They challenge the House of Black. Then the House of Black accepts. Of course, the lights go off, and then the lights go back on. Then Alex says that they have the monster of their own. And who is it? It is Eric Redbeard, a.k.a. Eric Rowan from the WWE. Of course, the last appearance that Eric Redbeard made was on the Brody Lee tribute show. So it's great to see Eric Rowan or Eric Redbeard, whatever you want to call him, back on AEW. Fantastic. It was a great promo. I enjoyed it for what it was. And, it was a segment that happened out of nowhere, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a good segment, in my opinion, and I'm glad that he's in AEW. Is it going to be for a while? I do not know, but we're going to have to wait and see. Dan Lambert backstage with Scorpio Sky. I enjoy Dan Lambert. I enjoy his promos. He's just hilarious at what he does. He congratulates Sammy Guevara on defending the TNT Championship, and then he announces Sammy Guevara versus Scorpio Sky for the TNT title this Wednesday on Dynamite. And then he says that Paige Van Zandt will also sign her AEW contract at Revolution this Sunday. So that's going to be interesting to see. I believe they were building up for a match between her and Brandy Rhodes, but of course we all know Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes did not re-sign with the company, and most likely they're headed to WWE, most likely. We get Keithley versus JD Drake. Of course, Keithley is on his way to the face of the Revolution ladder match this Sunday at Revolution, and I stated in my predictions video that either Keithley or Wardlow are going to be winning that ladder match. It's most likely going to be Wardlow, but all the things that Keithley could possibly do in this match, in this ladder match, are insane. JD Drake was really good at what he did. He was really good in the ring, fantastic in-ring performer. JD Drake, some of the spots that he did in the match were great as well. But overall, this was not a bad match whatsoever. So we're going to be starting off with the match. Keithley, by the way, is over as hell. Keithley is over. The crowd is, of course, chanting "Bask in his glory." Of course, I mean, fantastic. But Dre fires the first shot with a couple of overhand chops. Lee then fights back with a couple of overhand chops of his own, I should say. Then he sends JD to the corner. Then Lee hits a pounce on Drake. Then after that, once we're back from break, both exchange shots. We get a knee by JD Drake. Then we get a lariat. Then we get a headbutt by Lee. Then Lee runs into the corner. We get a jumping kick by Drake. We get a cannonball then after that by Drake after that. Then he goes to the top. He hits a moonsault. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Lee then catches Drake. He takes him to the top. Drake then hits a crossbody and then gets caught by Lee. Then he picks up JD Drake and hits a power slam. We get a cover and Keithley wins the match. But then after that, Ryan Nemeth and Peter Avalon come in. Keith Lee hits a powerbomb on Cesar Bononi, who also came in. Starks and Hobbs come in, who were on commentary. And then Lee throws Avalon on the outside. And then Orange Cassidy comes out. Of course, we got the face of the Revolution ladder match happening this Sunday in Revolution. And we got guys like Keith Lee, Orange Cassidy. Oh, not Orange Cassidy. I don't think Orange Cassidy is going to be in the match. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Ricky Starks is going to be in that match as well. We got Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow also in the match as well. So we got a lot of things happening in the face of the Revolution ladder match. And that is definitely a match that I'm excited to see. We got a backstage interview with CM Punk right after his brutal attack by MJF this past Wednesday on Dynamite. And I will say CM Punk cut a fantastic promo. Here's basically the gist of the promo that CM Punk cut, all bloodied up. MJF, he talks about MJF. He is going to find out what he thinks he already knows. Punk is the monster. Says on March 6th, he will treat him like a dog so much that his own mother won't even recognize him. He will give MJF what he deserves and says this Sunday he will be the monster because he is CM Punk and he is better than you. So great promo. That was just me summarizing the promo that CM Punk stated. That was a really good promo by CM Punk. I really enjoyed the segment, and overall, I'm definitely, excited to see where that goes. But definitely, 100%, the dog collar match between MJF and CM Punk is by far going to be one of the best matches on the Revolution card. And I do see a guy like MJF going over for the third straight time. Again, most likely we're going to see 50-50 booking with CM Punk winning, but the guy to win is definitely MJF to win. Serena Deeb with their 5-minute rookie challenge going up against Layla Gray. Layla tries to escape to the outside. Of course, this match is only 5 minutes, and Layla thought she was slick, so she tried to run away, but then Serena chases her. Then she grabs the ankle of Gray and then drops her face first onto the floor. Then she sends Gray to the ring. We get a neck breaker onto the middle rope by Serena. Then she applies the choke, and then Gray taps out instantly. But then out of nowhere, she applies the Serenity Lock on Gray, but then Hikaru Shida comes in for the save and hits her repeatedly with the Singapore cane. All right. After that, Tony Schiavone interviews Eddie Kingston. He talks about Chris Jericho, and I will say, man, Eddie Kingston is by far one of the best promos in the history of professional wrestling. In the modern history of professional wrestling, in the modern times of wrestling, Eddie Kingston is probably one of the best promos today. And the promo that he cut, man, when it comes to Eddie Kingston, many of his promos are serious, but some of his promos are absolutely hilarious, and I mean that in a good way. He talks about Jericho. He talks about how he just doesn't want to talk about it, and he instantly wants to fight. And one of the lines that he stated, there are two lines that he actually stated that I will state here. He says, "Kayfabe may be dead, but we don't need to piss on its grave." That was one of the funniest lines that he stated. And then he asks Jericho if he's going to flip the script. Says he's going to embarrass him and make him shake his hand. And says, even better, they have peanut butter Reese's cups in catering, or Reese's pie in catering. That was funny as hell. Of course, that's a little knock on WWE for catering and all that stuff. A lot of people love making the jokes on a lot of wrestlers not being utilized because of the fact that they are in catering. So that was actually pretty funny. We got our main event with Christian Cage taking on Ethan Page. Overall, this was a really good match. Of course, this is a qualifying match for the Face of the Revolution ladder match. The match starts, both lock up. We get a slap by Cage. Both exchange shots, and we go for repeated rights by Page in the corner. Cage goes to the top. We get an uppercut off the top by Cage. Cage then sends Page to the outside. We get a baseball dropkick by Christian Cage and sends Page to the outside. Page is in control during the commercial break. Once we're back from break, we get a waist lock applied by Page. We get a couple of back elbows by Cage, but then Page regains control, I should say. Christian then goes for a tornado DDT on the floor. Then he takes Page to the ring. We get repeated rights by Cage. Cage then goes for a sunset flip off the top. We get a near fall. Cage is in control. We get a slap by Cage. Then Ethan Page goes for a back elbow. We get a reverse DDT by Christian. Then after that, we get a cover and a near fall. Cage then goes to the top, but then out of nowhere, Paige hits a cutter on Christian. Then we get a cover and another near fall. Then Cage takes Paige neck first on the top rope. Cage then goes for the diving headbutt off the top. We get a cover and a near fall again. Then Cage runs into the shoulder tackle by Paige. He goes for the cover, but it's a kick out. Then he tries to go for the Ego's Edge, but then Cage counters into a spear. We get a cover by Cage and a near fall. Paige then gouges the eyes of Christian Cage and then sends him to the ring post. But then Ethan takes Cage for the Ego's Edge, but then Cage escapes and hits his finisher, the kill switch, or the unpretty, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And we get a cover, and Christian Cage qualifies, and he will be a part of the Face of the Revolution ladder match at Revolution. Overall, that is going to be a fantastic ladder match. Again, I see a guy like Wardlow winning the match, to be quite honest with you, and him going on against MJF and splitting away from the Pinnacle. But Christian Cage is going to be in the match, and it's definitely going to bring some interest in the match, in my opinion. But then after the match, Jurassic Express come out to celebrate with Christian Cage. But then Kyle O'Reilly, or the Young Bucks and Red Dragon come out. Of course, Jurassic Express will defend the AEW World Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks and Red Dragon at Revolution. And then Kyle O'Reilly takes one of the tag titles and does his signature playing the guitar with the Tag Team Championships. And then, of course, Matt Jackson takes the other belt, and then faces off with Red Dragon. But then Jungle Boy, out of nowhere, hits the somersaults on the outside, and then the show ends. Overall, Rampage was a really good show. Of course, I'm absolutely hyped for AEW Revolution this Sunday on pay-per-view. It's going to be a fantastic show. The card is absolutely stacked. It's going to be one of the best pay-per-views of 2022. And I am going to be watching that at the movie theater. I'm definitely excited. I already got my ticket. I'm definitely excited. It's going to be an awesome experience watching the pay-per-view inside a movie theater. I haven't done that. It's the first time I'm going to do that. And hopefully my experience as well. And not only that, even better, it's a dine-in theater. So I'm going to buy myself a burger while I'm watching that. So, yeah, man, Revolution is going to be an awesome-ass show. Rampage overall was a fantastic show. But, yeah, that was my AEW Rampage and WWE SmackDown reviews from March 4th. 2022. Overall, SmackDown started off good, but then it kind of fell off a cliff. Rampage was a great show overall. The TNT Triple Threat match, the TNT Championship match was fantastic. By far one of the best matches of the entire year thus far. But yeah, those were my AEW Rampage and SmackDown reviews. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Broken Havoc podcast. But yeah, this is Broken Havoc, signing out.